Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliette Clark, and today we are doing one of our live trainings, and our guest, Nina Froriep, will be using slides. So if you're someone who wants to get in and see the training, and you're that visual person, jump on over to our YouTube channel, Super Brand Publishing, and you can see it over there. And here, I have to admit somebody here, sorry. Let somebody into this. So also, don't forget about Breakthrough Author Magazine. Go over and grab your free subscription at breakthroughauthormagazine.com. Our theme for 2024 is Ditch the Middleman, Strategies to Bypass Book Distributors' Fees. And we have added a lot of new contributors. So you guys are really going to get a lot out of it. We have a solid business coach. We have a health coach because we're really catering to that second wind crowd with this, where, you know, they're in retirement mode and starting that new business. We want them to avoid all the shiny objects. So if you fall into that category, go get your free copy now, because we've got some great contributors coming up. So today's guest is someone I absolutely love because she's just so straightforward with everything she does. And her partner is probably one of the best copywriters I've ever seen. I would love for them to write my stuff, but Robin is not on today. So today's guest is Nina Froriep, and she is an award-winning producer and documentary filmmaker. She has seen it all, from the early days of independent features to the big national TV commercials, corporate mega shows, and Emmy award-winning documentaries, including one that she produced and directed called Abraham's Children. Ooh, I wonder how prescient that is for today. Today, Nina is a featured LinkedIn content creator and video marketer, and is excited to enable authors, business coaches, and service-based entrepreneurs to create easy and impactful video marketing so that they can attract their ideal clients and be thought leaders in their field of expertise. So welcome, Nina.
Thank you. That's a mouthful. And I'm like, as you're reading, I'm like, I need to edit this. I need to edit this.
No, it's actually really good because, before we got on, we were talking a little bit about the Second Wind platform that we're going to be running in 2024. That is really crucial for these people, that your bio is direct, it's to the point. I can tell you have a ton of experience, and you're not some fly-by-night, ooh, I want to be an influencer.
Yeah, no. I've been doing this for a really long time.
I know.
And being sort of a, I call them actually queenagers, which of course goes into the women more than the men. But there's sort of that, the second, what are you calling them? The second
wind. So it's kind of like when you're in a race and, you're done, and then you get that second wind. I think there are so many retirees out there right now, and we have them in our own client base. They're jumping in, they're a little bit afraid of technology. And so they're kind of looking at all these shiny objects, when if they just sit down and learn the right tech, it all becomes very easy and it all flows really well. So that's what we're hoping to do with Second Wind is stop people from buying all the garbage.
Yeah. And I'm so with you. And I love my shiny objects, but when it comes to video production, and we're not talking about the production part today, we're talking more about the strategy and the content today, but the production and the mindset part are so important because, we all have our smartphones, and that's really all we need to get really good video, number one. And number two, there is a thing with people, I say it's like 50 and over, and has nothing to do with the age as much as with the generation, being, Gen Xers and boomers. There is sort of this, why would I show up on video? Why would I put myself out there? Who wants to hear from me? And there's that conversation that very often happens, and it's easier to hide behind the book and behind the written word. It's a much more uncomfortable. And believe me, when I turned 50, way too long ago, and had to be in front of the camera instead of behind the camera, it was not pretty. But you get used to it, right? So
And Nina, if I can just interject here, if you are thinking, if you're sitting there right now over 50 thinking, I don't need to be on camera, that book you're hiding behind is not going to generate enough revenue for you to make a living. It's what you do with that book, the courses afterwards, which do require you to be on camera.
And just talking about it, showing it to the world and making people aware of it, that's not going to happen if you don't. People buy buy from people. People buy where they have a connection, where they have a story beyond the story of what is on your pages, right? So it's really important that you give them, you don't have to give them a 5-hour, expose on your life and why you wrote the book, but you have to give them little nuggets to get them even to come to your book.
Absolutely.
That's really, really important. So having said all of that, I'm going to share my screen and hope that it'll actually show up my slides talking about technology, right? And not my shopping list or something else. So
your shopping list would give us great insight into you.
And the fact that I have a dog for sure, who might be barking. He's no, he's actually not in the room. He normally leaves the room in protest when I come on Zoom because it's like too much talking for him. So welcome to Video Strategies that Attract Your Ideal Audience. And that is what we just sort of been talking about, right? This is not just about getting out there and saying like, yeah, here I am. It's really about talking to that person who really will connect with what it is that you have to share with the world. And that is what we want. And that is where video is so brilliant with, because it creates that much deeper, even emotional connection between you and the watcher or the audience to then hopefully drive them to your book or to your courses, wherever you are within your journey, right? So we're a small group here. So I would say if you have questions along the way, and there are questions that pertain to what I'm talking about right now, please unmute yourself and interrupt me, because the questions asked when they're actually relevant is super, super helpful. If you have any questions about more about like production and shooting and equipment or all of that, let's save that for the end, because then we can do that sort of in one neat little ball when we're done with the presentation. Such a small group, I'm not going to ask the whole like, why are you here and what do you want to get out of this, because I'm going to assume that you're going to jump in when it becomes relevant for you, and then we can have that conversation organically, if that's okay. So Juliet, you had mentioned my partner, who is, by the way, a fantastic strategist and yes, an awesome copywriter. This is the two of us with the aforementioned Tigger, who in protest just left the room when I started talking. Why I put that slide up is I love the picture because it kind of gives you a sense of how serious we take ourselves. We take our business very seriously, but we do not take ourselves very seriously. And I think that's really important to survive doing what we do. Why we do what we do is it drives us nuts when people spend too much time, money. Juliet had mentioned shiny objects, all those things that do not help you get to where you need to go. So the things that you need is you need a really solid strategy and a framework to execute on the videos. I always say I want videos for you to be as easy as writing an email. And when I say writing an email, it's not like we do it today, but maybe some of you who are a little older remember the days. I remember the days where I had to crawl under my desk, unplug my jack from my phone line and plug it into the computer, then, write my emails. And it was like a 10-step process. And I had a little checklist to make sure I didn't screw it up. When I would send my email, I would crawl under the desk again and, plug in my phone again. That kind of, and look how easy emails are for everybody nowadays. So that's what I'm hoping your journey can be for video as well. That becomes really easy and second nature. And it should be fun, hence the picture. So before we go into strategy, so we're going to have two sections. We're going to have a strategy and we're going to have a content section today. The content section will be about content creation and then also about some samples of videos if we have the time to go there. But before we go there, I just want to kind of talk about what is video marketing. What does that mean? Because video marketing means a lot of things to different people. So the way I break it down is the way any kind of audio-visual media will be created, be it a feature film, be it a documentary, be it a TV show, a reality show, be it a corporate video, or be it, your content. There is first and foremost a strategy, and the strategy, in a feature film, that would be development. Then there is the content creation, script writing, but it's also the ideation around it. Then there's the shoot, then there's the editing, and then there's the so-called, distribution, which in our world is hosting and posting. Today, we will go into strategy and content creation. And again, as I said, if we have some time at the end, I would love to answer any questions you have about shooting, editing, or hosting and posting videos. I made this a circle, although some coach told me I had to make it a line so people felt like there was an end to it. I'm like, no, it is a circle, because whatever happens through step 1 through 5, then goes back into your strategy, right? Because depending on how your content performs or doesn't perform, you will take different actions, hopefully, the next time you go around strategizing your next round of videos. So to me, this is very much a circle and not a straight line. So that is how we think about video marketing, to make it just as simple and easy as possible to grasp what the different steps are that we need to focus on. Any questions up to now?
I do. I love that you just said that about the circle, because there's repurposing that goes on in there as well. So it's not just
Exactly.
like it stops like you were talking about. So
Yeah.
that's a great way to put that.
Yeah, it recycles. You can recycle the content, and we'll talk about that a little bit when we get into the content creation part. But yes, it's a circle for many reasons, not just the iteration of what you learned, but also the content. So let's get into strategy. So the way we think about strategy when it comes to video marketing on a very high level is that, we ask our clients, do you want video? And if normally when they come to us, they want video, right? So it's a yes. And then we immediately ask, do you want videos for your website or do you want videos for your social media channels? Very often it's both. But the reason why we ask that question is we kind of divvy up what kind of videos serve what purpose and how you create them. So the way we think about it is there is your website videos, which we're calling legacy videos. That's the here on the left side, the red part. The legacy videos are videos that have a much longer shelf life. You might also actually script them, learn the scripts by heart, and then shoot them. You might even want to shoot them with a little bit more production value. On the other side of the spectrum, and I'll get into those a little more. And then on the other side of the spectrum are what I call tissue videos. And if you Google it, nothing will come up. I just invented that term. And by tissue video, I don't mean that you're all going to be sobbing your way through the video. It is sort of the, grab a tissue, sneeze into it, throw it out, right? It's a one use video that goes on your social media. If you're lucky, maybe 200, maybe 1,000 people, maybe 50 people will see it, and then it's gone and done, and then comes the next day's content and the next day's content. Some of these videos are, of course, also recyclable, but in general, we just kind of separate the two. Why I drew this little layout is you need to, and this is why Robin and I do what we do, you need to know how to do yourself these tissue videos, because if you do not, you're going to either not have any videos, which I think, in my opinion, humble opinion, is a no-go, but I'm slightly biased. And you will be spending a ridiculous amount of money and time and gray hair hiring somebody to shoot those videos with you and for you. And since you need a lot of them and you want them to sort of be coming on a regular basis, it's just not doable if you're a small business. So that's why I have sort of the here, my little done for you is a no-go. Unless you have, you inherited a ton of money and you can afford to do so, good for you. But most of us don't, right? So you need to know how to do those videos yourself. Same to a certain degree for the legacy videos, because we feel that we actually have a little course, and I'll talk about that at the end, called the 5 videos every service-based business must have and how to write them. So it's a course that helps you write those first 5 videos. If you do any videos at all, it would be those 5. They go on your website. You can put them on your social media and pin them. And those are videos like, your mission statement, your elevator pitch, your problem solved video, like sort of the basic videos. And those, I feel, are the only videos that you should have scripted, because it's language you'll need anyway. If you go and you introduce yourself at any kind of networking event or like this here, like you're doing public speaking, doing podcasting, you're doing stage work, you kind of need to know what your elevator pitch, your mission statement is, and what you do for people, why and how. So those videos are sort of the videos that are the core of that you should really have at an absolute minimum. If you can do those yourself as well, and again, if you learn how to do it yourself on this side, you will also know how to do it on this side. It just allows you that if you're pivoting ever so slightly, or you have a new book coming out and you want to position yourself slightly differently, you know how to recreate or reshoot those videos. So does that make sense up to this point? Yes. Okay, great. So what I want to do next is I want to spend a couple of minutes going through what you need to think about in order to get to a decent strategy for your video marketing. And I'm going to go through these fairly quickly because this is not a hands-on workshop per se. I have 2 sheets. They're divided between the actual strategy, and then the second sheet is more less strategic question and more production related questions like timing, budget, et cetera, et cetera. So please interrupt me as we go through this. They all sort of tie in with one another. So I normally, by the time I get to number 4, or number 3, number 4 has become irrelevant. But I just want you to have seen this sheet and kind of take notes of it, because these are just really good questions to ask yourself. And these can be questions that can be answered really quickly, right? This is not a 5-hour exercise. Can be a very quick exercise, especially if you're already in business, you already know what you're doing, and you already have most of these questions answered for your overall marketing, which is the first strategic question. How does video tie into my overall marketing strategy? Where does it make sense for me to use video? Not all content is naturally video content. So when Robin and I come up with a new, let's say, series of things we want to talk about, a new topic, a new thing we're promoting, a new service or a new product, we always ask ourselves, how do we convey this message? Is this a poll? Is this a JPEG? Is this an infographic? Is this a video? Or is this just a written post? And then we start, once we have that question answered, then we break it down into, okay, we need a 6 video series that goes with a written post. Then we need these 3 JPEGs designed, or, we need this kind of carousel with, 5 slides that explain something. So we make sure that our content is best disseminated such that it makes sense for what it is, right? So how does video tie into your overall marketing strategy? Really important question. So we don't fall into the shiny object, oh, everything's going to be a video now, right? Because I learned how to do videos, which is great, but again, with caution. There is stuff that is better. Stories are better told sometimes not with video. But if it's video and you want to use video, this is a great question to start with. Then the next question you want to ask yourself is, what's my video's context? When I talk about context, just to go back to the slide prior, there's going to be videos on your website. There's going to be videos on your social media. There might be videos on a little sales landing page that stands on its own. There might be videos that, especially the authors of you, are putting together an electronic press kit. So important to have video. So important to know and ask the agent who's handling your press kit or who's ever helping you, where does this video play? Will this video be downloadable? If it's downloadable, make sure that you have a logo in there. Make sure that your website is in there. Make sure the information, because the video goes on a journey without you knowing where it's ending up. So you need to make sure the video can stand with itself and have all the information it needs to have. So if it gets disassociated from your website, from your YouTube channel, from your social media profile, people still know who the hell you are, what you're talking about, and how to reach out to you, because that's the whole reason we're doing this, right? So really important. A video that plays on my website, I'm probably not even going to put a logo on there. I might not even put my name on there because it's within the context of my website. People know who I am, and people see the big logo on the top left on my website. They don't need to see it again necessarily in the video, right? And then number 3, which is sort of the question that some people make a whole career out of answering for other people, is, who's my audience? So everybody with skin, which I think is the Dove commercial, that is lovely for Dove, but for the rest of us, XX. So make sure that you're very, very clear on who your audience is. The more niche you are, the better. You can always expand from a niche outwards again, but make sure you have that nucleus of rabid fans that just love everything you say, you put out, and you do. Because if you have those, then you can work yourself outwards from there. And whatever content you create, keep that core audience in mind. You're speaking to them first and foremost. And then with that comes the next question, which is, where does this audience hang out? And when I say channels, I mean social media channels. So is your crowd a LinkedIn crowd? Is your crowd an Instagram crowd? Be very clear on where your crowd is, and then do one platform and do it superbly well. And make sure that you always engage actively with whomever engages with you. So I know in the early days, I was always like, oh, you can be on all the channels, because once you create the content, you can just resize it or cut and paste it all over the place. Yes, you can. But before, I didn't make a commitment to LinkedIn and say, okay, I'm going to do LinkedIn really, really well, to the point that I'm now a LinkedIn expert. I kind of didn't get any traction because I was flitting around between Twitter, X, and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, and I didn't do any of them right. And now that I do LinkedIn really, really well, and the others, I still post there, the stuff's there, you can cut and paste, but I really do my engagement, my energy, my follow-up, my conversations, I put all of that into LinkedIn, and it's paying off handsomely now that I've kind of landed on that one platform.
Yeah, I just want to add there, Nina, same here. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. LinkedIn, I don't do as well as Nina, but I'm learning. And, we're getting a little bit over on YouTube because of the podcast. But again, it's that strategy. And LinkedIn is really ideal, you guys, because if you're running a business, the average income over there is 75,000. So it's not, you're avoiding what I call those broke ass people.
Yeah. Not only that, Juliet, LinkedIn there's only 1% of all the millions of people who hang out on LinkedIn are actually creating content. And that means that you have a real chance of organic growth and organic getting clients, which is not the case on any of the other platforms. Any of the other platforms, if you want to get clients and you want to get real growth, you need to invest in advertising or in massive amounts of posting. And on LinkedIn, you don't. So we think LinkedIn makes sense for an awful lot of reasons. If you're like, and I think this is for service-based. And I think as an author, you probably are in the service-based world. I'm just going to assume for now. So LinkedIn definitely is a great platform to consider to put your efforts into. Then number 5, and I hope we'll have time I have a beautiful little slide that talks about call to action. So what do I want my prospects to do after watching the video? This is, by the way, not just video. This is every written post. This is LinkedIn experts now coming out at me. It's all content that you put out. You must have a call to action at the end. You need to tell people what you want them to do after they're done reading your stuff, watching your stuff. And that doesn't need to be salesy at all. We talk a lot, and this is a whole other workshop. We talk about low friction and high friction call to actions. So a low friction call to action, I do that with every post, is I ask a question about the content I just wrote or the video they just watched. So what is your opinion on X? So let's say I do a video on call to actions. My question at the end will be, do you use call to actions on every single post that you put out there? If so, or if not, why not? So just make sure that you always ask people to engage with you, because that's the whole reason why you're putting stuff out on LinkedIn. Nothing is more infuriating than somebody who writes a beautiful long post and then there's no, I'm like, what I'm going to write? How am I going to engage? I'm just going to go on to the next content. But if you ask me a precise question that is easy and quick to answer at the end, I'm going to write a little answer, because people love answering good questions. They can't help themselves. And then who that person is, and then you can engage with them and ask them, or write them back or say, hey, thank you so much for commenting on my post about X. Would you like to be connected? Would you like to be on my mailing list? You then now have a way to actually get into a conversation with people. If you don't ask them a question, you don't have a way. So call to actions, super, 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 super important. And a high friction call to action is book a call with me, buy my book. So those to be used very sparingly, and it's not cannot be your standard call to action, because it takes a lot for people to actually go to a link and sign up for a call. Even if it's a freebie strategy call, it takes a lot. So make sure that you put those in sparingly and well placed. And then the style of the video, this is more something I put in when I still had a lot of much younger people work with me, because the sort of casual tone you might have on a TikTok or on a Facebook will not play on LinkedIn. So first of all, be brand conscious. What is your voice and how do you want to present yourself? And your video has to reflect that. And, what is the tone of the platform you're on? Is this a casual platform where, you're expected to break out into song and dance? Or is this a, LinkedIn where it's much more professional and a little more sedate, which doesn't mean that you can't be funny, because funny always sells. And there's people who are making a career just out of that, funny videos. There's some actually really good people on LinkedIn. So those are sort of your strategic questions you want to ask yourself going into a video marketing strategy. Any questions?
I do have, Nina, I have a question. Yeah. So video style, but also it needs to kind of match who you are, right? Like, because I'm a very informal person. I'm just not going to be formal even on LinkedIn, but my content is the thing that the presentation of the content. So that's the distinguishing thing. Then it's like, I don't want to just be like, oh, some flippant remark. I want to give real solid content, but I can do it in my informal style.
Absolutely. You want to be, this is really important too. And again, not part of this presentation, but we actually have a fun quiz called What's Your Video Personality? And you really want to make sure that you are you, authentically you, but within the framework of how you show up professionally for your clients, right? So I love cracking jokes. As Juliet said earlier, I'm a very straight shooter. That comes through in my videos. So if somebody doesn't like that style, they're never going to sign up with me. They're never going to book call with me. And that's fine, because then it's sort of like a self-selection tool, right? So yeah, you definitely want to make sure that your personality comes through in your videos, because people want to get to know you, and then you want to show up the way you show up when they meet you on Zoom, right? Or, I mean, assuming that most of us are still in the digital world with our service offerings. So, you really want to make sure that that comes through clearly. And again, just because LinkedIn is more professional doesn't mean there's not lots of space for individuality, for fun, for sort of, have that, what makes you come through and shine through, for sure.
I was going to say too, the litmus test I tell my clients is be the person on video that you are in person, because nothing's worse than meeting that person in person and that immediate, I don't know if disalignment's a word, but it's not in alignment. Yeah, there you go. That disconnect, because that will turn people off right away.
Yep. I call that it's like a bad date, right? You've swiped right or left. I never know which one it is. And then you meet the person and they're 50 pounds heavier, 20 years older, and it's a big disappointment, right? So you want to make sure that, I always say my biggest compliment is when people meet me in person or on Zoom and say, oh my God, you just like your videos. That is what you want, right? That would be sort of your litmus test right there.
Did you think I wouldn't notice that you're about a half a foot shorter than you said you were?
That actually is very funny, because you never know how. I have this person who works with me, and when I met them for the first time, I was like, oh, because you're always on Zoom, you're face to face, and this person is really tall, and I didn't know. I was like, wow, totally not the physical appearance I expected. But yeah, so you never know. So I'm not going to go through the production sheet, because I think it goes too deep for what we're doing right now. And I also want to keep an eye on time. But the only one thing I do want to say is be clear. If you want to screen grab this, ask yourself these questions. They are very important. And the question number 9, what's my budget? No budget is not a budget, because your time is extremely valuable, and whatever you do yourself is your time. So make sure that to do videos yourself, including the posting and the editing, and I'm going backwards, but whatever, make sure it is worth your time. It might very well be that it might be outsourced better, because an outsourced person can do it much faster and better and quicker. And I'm thinking here in particular about editors, right? Also be aware of what your video format is. Nothing is worse, in my opinion, than LinkedIn and vertical videos. Pisses me off. Then again, I have to say I'm a filmmaker, so of course I'm partial to 16:9 horizontal. But that's also how we watch TV. That's how we see the world. I just think horizontal is a lot more flattering for many, many, many reasons. So unless you're doing reels on Instagram or TikTok, then by all means go vertical, but otherwise stick to square or horizontal. All right, I'm going to move into content creation, because there's so much to cover. So first I so the way video works with having to, we have the strategy part, which is one part, but then we have the writing. So if we go back up here, actually, so then we have the content creation, the shooting, and the editing, which sort of comes as it's a bulk. It's what I call production, or you could also just call the shooting and editing production, but obviously without a script or without bullet points, you're not shooting anything, or you're shooting garbage. So the whole production process, the way it's handled best is to do it in bulk. So we are huge fans of creating video series, because if you create a series, you can then put your brain in, because you want your videos for social media to be max 60 seconds. And I say that because all my videos are longer than 60 seconds, nearly all of them, but you want them to be really short. So if you have this much of ideas, you want to make sure you cut them into little bite-sized snackable size or bite-sized portions. And so I always tell people, if you have, for instance, a lead magnet, like, a thing that you give people for free in return for their email address. And in my case, it would be like Nina's top 15 tips on how to survive video marketing. That is not one video. That is 15 videos, or maybe even 16 if I do an intro video, maybe even 17 if I do an outro video. So here now I have this one asset out of which I can make 16 or whatever videos and have 16 posts. So each of the posts can be, hey, today we're going to talk about why you should never use a ring light when you're shooting. Here's a short video that explains why. Here's my text about why. And then at the end, the call to action is go over to YouTube and check out the entire series, or even better, not YouTube, click on this link, give me your email to get the whole list of the 15 videos, plus, a link to YouTube for all the video, all the content. And this way I have a whole series of content that just kind of keeps giving, right? And those videos, tissue video notwithstanding, I might actually recycle. So once I'm done with the 16 videos, if I post one every week or every other week, 4 months later, no one will remember what I posted, and I can start over again, right? So creating content in binge-worthy sort of portions is really, really crucial to kind of surviving video production on the long run. So I always say create binge-worthy content, because binge-worthy doesn't necessarily mean, again, if I have bigger groups, I workshop this, but it's like, define binge-worthy. So answers I get a lot is Netflix, some series, or, things that always stop at a cliffhanger. But we can create binge-worthy in our world for our audience, because, I always give the example, a couple of years ago, I got into drawing Zentangles. It's a repetitive pattern kind of drawing on a small little card, and it's very Zen, and hence Zentangle. And I totally got into it. So I went on YouTube and I was looking on how to draw these patterns, and I was looking for how-to videos. Well, before I knew it, it was 2 hours later. I had watched whatever, 2 hours is divided into 4-minute videos, and 30. And the videos weren't well made. They weren't the best, the best production value, but it was right then and there. It was timely for me. It was educational, and it was engaging enough that I stuck with it, because I had a burning desire to learn that. So if you can get your audience into your content with video such that you give them nuggets of what they want to learn or what they want to know, but you're giving it to them in little bite-sized portions, you not only have stuff that you can create in bulk to save your time and energy. Because I tell you, when I shoot video, quick detour, when I shoot video, the actual shooting of the video is my least cumbersome part of shooting video. Much more cumbersome is like, okay, need to wash my hair, need to put some makeup on. I normally don't put makeup on for you guys. Makeup means just a little bit on the eyes and lips, but so put on makeup, do your hair, dress nicely, make sure the lights are just so, and it's always a little fiddling. And then when I come to the actual shooting, it's boom, 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 boom. So if I do all of that setup work, I want to make sure I'm shooting at least, some opinion pieces I can maybe get 3 or 4 out before I fizzle out and have no energy anymore. But right now I have a series of 60-second videos on the extremely important guide to surviving video, tongue-in-cheek, little 60-second, one sentence sound bites on how to do this and that and the other about video marketing. And I have 32 at this point. I shoot those in 14 to 15 video bulk sessions. And then I have content I put one a week out. I have, 3 months worth of video every single week, at least one. So that is how you want to maximize your time in creating. And people now are sort of in tune with the fact that I have these tongue-in-cheek little videos that I put out every week, and it becomes a thing, right? People look forward to it. When is the next installment coming? What is the topic going to be? And then I send them to my YouTube channel to watch all of them if they want to. And this way, my YouTube channel gets a bit of a boost. So it's a great way to get people, A, engaged with you, and B, make sure that you have your content not eat you up alive creating it. Any questions to this point? Okay, so I have some examples. I think I'm going to skip actually playing the videos for you because they're just me talking. But I want you to...
Nina, can I ask a question? If we can go back a moment. When you do the binge-worthy, them in bulk, do you script that? Is it all very scripted?
Yeah, excellent question. Excellent question. Thank you so much, Linda. No, I do not. The only videos that I scripted, and I suffered through it terribly, was these legacy videos, because I felt that these were the 5 videos that I needed to get right, because I was talking about my mission, what my background, how I solve the problem for people, and what my offerings are. Anything else, I do not script. Now, I just am terrible at learning scripts by heart, and I never allow for teleprompter or for cheat sheets. And that goes into a whole other topic. Just because the cheat sheets and the prompter make you stiff, make you not, make your eyes shift all over the place. And I always say, make your videos short enough, make sure that you're clear on how you introduce yourself and how you get out of your videos, equally as important, because that's the last thing people see. And then you're the expert in your field. If there's one topic you want to tackle, one tip you want to give, I bet you, my hiney, you can remember how to do that. And sometimes it takes me, some takes, I do one take, I'm done, the video is great, I love it. And some of them I have to do 10 times because I have to talk it out first. But I always do them ad lib, because it's more natural and it's much more engaging for my audience to watch me that way, even if I blunder a bit. And secondly, I do not want to edit. I take my videos, I throw them in a little app in my phone, and I trim the beginning, I trim the end, I throw in a logo, I throw in a title. It takes me no longer than 3 minutes to edit a video. And I'm not exaggerating, 3 minutes. Then I send it to my virtual assistant to put closed captioning on it, because I find that cumbersome. But it really is that easy. And if you're ad-libbing and keeping it really short, I'd rather spend longer shooting the thing to get it right, ad-libbed, than, oh, I like the first half of this one, but the second half of that one I'm going to edit. And then you're either going to never put the video out because you never get to the editing, or you're going to have to hire an editor for those tissue videos that you want to keep quick and simple, right? Now, the legacy videos, there's one that's a little longer. I can never, although I've shot it maybe 15 times, I can never get it out in one setting. I now do that in 3 little blocks, just because I want to stick to the script and I can't get it out otherwise. But that's the exception. So, and thank you for that question, Linda. Brilliant. So here are some content ideas I want you to consider. And they are dark and light gray, because the light gray ones, I didn't upload a video sample. That's the only difference. So I'm going to highlight the ones that are not great. Educational top tip and expert series. We just talked about that. So I have here if you go on my LinkedIn, which I invite you please to all do, I put one of those a week out. I now have 36 of them. I want to get to 52. So for the foreseeable future, I have one a week for a year, and then I recycle them. I start from scratch again. And then, and those I made square, just because I had this really, really long title, and I wanted it to show up the whole time, so people kind of understood that this was a tongue-in-cheek thing. I mean, the tips are solid. It's just the way I present them. Then we have the lead magnet series, aka your book. So those I'm really hot on, because I think it's a great way. If you have, like, the first quiz we ever had, we did with Juliet, and what did we have? 20 questions, right, Juliet? I made a video of every single question, and then I could just put those up and then always ask people to take the quiz. It was a perfect way to get people engaged and get their email. And for us to just like have content that we could recycle. We didn't have to rewrite the post again. We didn't have to reshoot the video again. It was just cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste. It was a beautiful thing. And we did that for quite a while, like 2 years or so. Then industry disruption series. I mentioned that because for you as authors, I think that can be a really nice way for you to talk about your books and about what it is that you do differently or what your experience has been. Those are videos I allow a little more time for and to go a little deeper. And I have a series called Conversations About Shit That Matters. And that for me is a series where I talk about video mindset and about how to post personal stuff on social media and surviving it and not going into an awful TMI situation. And I feel that those videos need a little bit more depth. And like that was what I mentioned earlier. If I'm doing opinion pieces, I can maybe do 3 of those in one sitting and then I'm pooped because they're about 2.5 to 3 minutes long. So that is there's this series, and there is it's on my YouTube channel, all of them, if you want to watch those. And then there's all sorts of other ideas. But what I also want to talk about briefly is client testimonials, because there's various different ways to get a hold of those. So there's a straightforward client testimonial, which this friend of mine and former client, Jody, and she gave me a beautiful testimonial. I'm not going to play it right now because we're running out of time. But it was, your classic, ask somebody to do a testimonial for you. Even us video marketers, it's really hard to get people to do these. So I wouldn't count on those being your staple, because people say, yeah, I'll do it. And then they'll never do it. Or they'll do it like half a year later when you don't need it anymore. And the promotion has long come and gone and you're on to 3 new things. What I do, which is much easier, is I invite clients or, in your case, maybe, readers or course participants into a conversation with me on Zoom. And the way I do it, I structure it as a deal for them. I give them 60 minutes of my time. They get to ask me for the first 45 minutes, whatever they want. So they're getting a, $400 value one-on-one with me. But then I ask them to show up presentable and looking smart. And then the last 15 minutes, I will ask some questions about their experience with me in the program. And I have a list of standard questions I ask, how was it before? How was it during? How was it after? Blah, blah, blah. And that gives me then not only one testimonial that I actually send to my editor, and I say, okay, pick out this, and this soundbite. And now I have maybe 3, 4, maybe even 5, depending on how good of a soundbite talker my client is, testimonials that I can use. So this is my preferred way of getting client testimonials, because it's in the books, they know when they're showing up, and you have it guaranteed. The only thing that can happen, I have one client, she talks in circles. I can never use anything she gives me. I've tried 3 times and it's like, okay. But for the most part, people understand what I'm looking for and what I want to get. And I'll ask the same question maybe in 3 different ways until I finally sort of get the soundbite I'm looking for, right? So this is a great way to get testimonials. And then this is another way to get testimonials. So if you have groups, not all of you do, I'm aware of that, but if you do have groups, and I record all my sessions with the group, sometimes there's these involuntary things, like I'm going to play this one just briefly because it's just such a beautiful little soundbite from Stephanie down here. And I was like, holy crap, am I happy I'm recording this, because this is going to be a testimonial.
I'm really excited to report that I planned 5 days a week of social media content through the end of October. So this is huge for me, and I'm finding so much value in this series of exercises that you're leading us through. Like, it's mind-blowing for me, and I just feel so much security in having that plan up there, because I know that everything that I know I want to talk about in the next 6 weeks, I guess it is going to get talked about now because it's on the schedule. I still have to create that content, but I feel very satisfied and not so overwhelmed. So I'm really happy about that.
Right? Those are the moments. Don't let them slide. Don't let them slide. You can go in and trim it and just use it, right? So that's easy enough. So these are the kinds of moments where I'm like, yeah, perfect. Okay, so client testimonials, really, really important for all of us, right? To have those. And video just always is, sometimes it's nice to have a quick written statement because people read much quicker than they'll watch a video. I'm actually much more partial to reading than video, but don't tell anybody. So, but it's nice to have those video testimonials, because for most people, they just read as more authentic and more like, oh, wow, actually, this is a real testimonial, right? And then, of course, these are grayed out, but just to let you all know, we all have this amazing content like what we're doing right now. We're recording this. And so this is a live stream, or it's a podcast, or it's just a conversation you're having with an expert, another expert on Zoom, or, as we saw before with a client. So that's a long format that you can put out, but then take it and cut it up and make micro content out of it. And the beauty of it is, if you are talking to someone else, a guest or an expert, you can grab those little bits and pieces where they say something brilliant, or you both say something brilliant, put that out, and then tease people to the longer program where this comes from. And it just also, I always share, I used to have a podcast. It's on hiatus right now for 2.5 years. And I did it monthly, and every single conversation I had netted me at least 5 really top-notch quick sound bites. So I had more content than I knew what to do with, because that was just the gift that kept giving. And then you could post it. I could mention my host or my guest. My guest or my expert. So then they would share it with their audience. So it was kind of like this whole little ecosystem that was really, really fruitful and very, very great way to get more people into my orbit, into my platform.
Yep. I'm sorry, can I ask a question? I use Opus.pro for that. What do you use? Do you use software, or do you do it yourself?
Do what? The editing?
The micro content.
Yeah. So I go old school. I have a fabulous editor. I just give it to him and make him choose the clips. I don't even, unless there's a clip that stood out to me throughout the conversation, I let him choose, because he's a fresh set of ears on the conversation. He's a professional editor, so that's part of his job. But there are a lot of great AI tools out there now who will do that for you, especially if you put in the keywords that you're looking for. So that works as well. I just happen to have a good deal with an editor that is, probably in the end costing me about the same amount. And then he also then edits it and makes, a nice title and a closed captioning. He basically delivers me my 5 assets that I want: the thumbnail, the video with and without captions, the transcription, all of it. So that's worth it for me. He charges me around $70 to $100, depending on how long the conversation was, for one pod. And, that has always been worth it for me, for the ease of having if you work with an editor, having set up a workflow, then it just becomes like such a quick and easy thing to do. I have more slides, guys, but I also feel that there might be some questions, and we have 10 minutes left. If there are questions, I would love to open it up to questions. And if not, I can go to that last slide I have. It's up to you. So unmute yourself and go for it.
Linda, Christine, either of you
Yes,
guys?
I have a follow-up question, Nina. So
Yes.
regarding these tissue, I'm very interested in doing these tissue videos, probably on my computer. And I have a cousin who is my editor, and he edits, and he's a professional editor.
Yep.
So I would imagine you have an idea before you go in. I want to do this, this, and that on the videos, and then you just ad lib. Is that the way it goes?
I have more than an idea. So I have a strategic plan of what I want to talk about and why. So if you have a book launch coming up, and I'm going to be like, okay, I want to start talking about the book launch 3 months before. So I'm going to want to put out a video every week, and I want to talk about, so 3 times 4, 12. I want to talk about the 12 chapters I have in my book, or the 10 chapters I have in my book. I'm going to outline very precisely what I'm going to talk about, and make sure that I have 1 point per video, 1 video, 1 point. The one thing I spend a little bit of time on is making sure that I know what my introduction is, and I know what my extroduction, my out is, for 2 reasons. Number one, once your brain gets used to saying the introduction, it kind of snaps into performance mode, and it helps you with your delivery. So for instance, right now I have the extremely important guide. So it's always, hi, welcome to the extremely important guide to surviving video. Today's topic is ring lights, why not to use them. And then I go into it. And then at the end, I say, I hope this was helpful. Happy videoing. And I wave. And with having those handles at the beginning and the end. And the wave, by the way, is very much on purpose, because then when I'm editing, I don't even have to listen to what I say. I just know when I go like this and my hand goes down, that's where I edit. So it has a very functional, it's not because I'm so friendly and I want to wave. It has a very functional purpose. And I'm of course a friendly person. But so make sure that you kind of have sort of the signature intro and the signature outro, so you don't have to think about those, because if we do, that's where we start ambling and rambling and get, into not a good headspace. Does that make sense?
It's very helpful.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
I have a spreadsheet, and I'm very I practice the intro if it's a new one, like, welcome to the, conversations about shit that matters, blah, blah, blah. And then I go into it. And at the end, it's like, and remember, you matter. So I'm picking up the, I'm sort of doing a word game on that. So I'm very intentional about my call to actions, and I'm very intentional about my intros.
Do you set a time frame for these so that they're consistent? For example, if your time frame is 15 minutes per video, so that they're pretty consistent and people know if it's 14, 15, it's not that big of a deal, but the difference between 5 and 15.
Yeah. So nothing is ever going to be 15 minutes, Christy. I hope not, unless it's a course that you're giving. So it's going to be 60 seconds or 90 seconds. I allow myself up to 2 minutes. If it's longer than 2 minutes, I'll keep recording until I hit below 2 minutes. On LinkedIn, the best performing videos are 60 seconds and less. And what that really means is, if a video is 60 seconds or less, it means it's being watched to the end. And since you have your call to action at the end, you want to make sure people watch to the end. Now, in my case, I have been on LinkedIn for so long, and I have a very dedicated following. I feel like if I want every once in a while do one of those, conversations about shit that matters, which are 3-minute videos, I get away with that. But for instance, my series with the, the extremely important guide, those are all around a minute. And I really make sure that they are, because that's the whole thing, is like, people's commitment to having to watch me is 60 seconds. And I want to keep that up.
Do you set a timer, Nina?
No, because I don't want it to go off while I'm talking.
How do you know that you've reached the 60-second mark?
I mean, if I don't, I'll see it at the end when I watch the clip back. So I'll record. And then when I have a clip I like, I will heart it, always heart only one clip that in each video, only like or favorite one clip, because if you do more than one, you will not see the difference anymore afterwards. So go with your feeling. This was the perfect clip. Then I'll watch it, and the phone will tell me how long the clip is. And if it's all of a sudden, 2 minutes and 15 seconds, I'm like, rats, yes, it was a good clip, but it's way too long. Do again.
If you're direct and to the point, that timer doesn't matter. I mean, if you know exactly what you're going to say, it literally, I will aim for a minute, and I rarely end up a minute, because I'm just boom, 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 boom. See you. Bye-bye.
Well, I mean, Juliet, some of us, like, when you do, even when you do my my video personality quiz, for instance, I'm a storyteller, so I love to expand and go into more detail, because that's just my nature. So there's videos like the conversations about shit that matters, where I allow myself to do that, because that's the purpose of the video, to go a little deeper. With my tip series, which is what we're looking at right now, there I will really restrain myself and focus on being educational and not being so much a storyteller. But I have to kind of make myself focus on it, for sure. I'm going to put this up just in case.
Okay. Anybody, and you guys, you can see there, the clockwiseproductions.com/5-videos. She has a free gift there for you. And then Nina, if you are someone who gets Breakthrough Author magazine, she has an offer on the back cover of this month's magazine. And if you don't have the magazine, and go over and DM her on LinkedIn, so connect with her first, then DM her, tell her put my name in it, but give your email as well, because she's going to put you on her list, and she'll have an extra deal for you on that.
Yeah. So the deal.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I've heard a lot about sound bites, and I'm not quite sure what that is. Could you please explain it a little bit further? I know it's probably more concise about what you say in a short period of time.
Yeah. And Nina, what she's talking about is she's working with our media experts. So I know you've been same thing on a big production show. So that's what she's referring to.
Yeah. So sound bites are really sort of small nuggets of information that you can give that are useful to your audience. And I know for authors, because authors by nature probably are all storytellers. Actually, let me put my quiz into the chat as well. You know, that can be really hard to synthesize all that vast knowledge that you have into like sort of a quick sentence. But think of it of like, you know, the all famous elevator pitch of what you do. It can be an elevator pitch of, in this chapter or in this section of my book, I talk about X. So think of what is the distilled version of X, such that somebody can walk away and say, oh, Christine had made this really amazing point about Y, right? So, you know, a soundbite would be like what I said earlier. Make sure your videos, it's one video, one topic, one call to action. That is a soundbite. And then you don't even have to say more than that, because if they're curious, they're going to go and look you up and look for further information. So it's really just like sort of a tease. And if that doesn't come natural to you, I would say also to Linda's point earlier, make a list of those talking points and kind of maybe, you know, practice them a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah. One more thing to add to that, Christine, give yourself a lot of grace on learning to put those together, because this is just like when you wrote the back cover copy for your book. You took 400 pages and put it into a paragraph, and it's really hard, and you're somewhat doing the same thing here. So it takes practice. Be gentle on yourself when you're learning. And again, you know, I've been doing this now for quite a while, right? So I pivoted from being, you know, I've been in business for over 25 years. We were a traditional film and video production company for the first 19 years. And the last 6 or meanwhile, nearly 7 years, I've started doing this video marketing and helping people, small business owners, with the do-it-yourself approach of video. When I went in front of the camera right after my 50th birthday, which is now nearly 8 years ago, I went kicking and screaming. And those first videos were god awful. I tried to script myself. I tried to learn scripts by heart. I rearranged my entire apartment and put this huge setup. And those videos were unwatchable. They were painful. So if you see me now on video and I'm all like, ha, 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 and it's all easy and it comes to me. And so that is years of practice. So don't think that, you know, it doesn't need to be awful in the beginning, because if you have somebody like me who can show you how to get there faster, then you can avoid a lot of this. And I also think we all have a lot more facility. Back then, there was no Zoom, right? We weren't Zooming yet. We weren't used yet to seeing and hearing ourselves in video, which now we all are. So sometimes it's just easier to maybe start with doing what you are comfortable with, which is sitting on Zoom and talking to yourself and see what that looks like. I would recommend you shoot when you shoot for your videos that you want to put out on your phones, because they're much better quality, most likely, than your your camera is going to be on your computer. But the technical aspect should not hold you back. And if the video is a little fuzzy, so be it. More important is that you know what you're saying, why you're saying it, and to whom you're saying it. Yeah. Here's the other thing too. Have somebody else look at your videos, because you are going to, in the beginning, you're going to micromanage yourself to death. And I'm not kidding about that. You will find you will find things wrong with your face, your expression, that you didn't get it right. Back when we used to do Jeff Walker style campaign launches, I spent 2 hours for a 1-minute video. And then I got frustrated, went down to the pool, had a smoothie, got back on, nailed it. And when I rewatched it, I had a big chunk of spinach from my smoothie in my teeth. And now once you have practice and you stop micromanaging yourself, you'll be able to nail that. And it's like, okay, that's me, go with it. So, you know, keep that in mind as well. And I know Christine knows what I'm talking about. She just did an entire TV interview with lash glue in her eye, which I don't even know how she got through that, because it burns like hell. So be gentle and have somebody else look at it that can give you critique, because I do swear you'll find everything you can wrong with that video, and probably no one else will notice.
Yeah, I have to tell you that I went through almost an hour interview with someone, got off, finished the interview, and had mascara all over here on my right eye. So I emailed the host and I said, did you see anything? Could you erase it? Could you have the editor? He said, I haven't seen anything, but I will take care of it.
That's funny.
So
Oh.
Nina, we can find you at all those places you just told us over on LinkedIn. You guys, it's in the chat. Froriep is Froriep. I spell it wrong every time.
You said it perfectly in the introduction, so thank you for that.
There. Go over and take her quiz. I'll put that quiz in the show notes as well. And Nina, thank you so much. This was very informative.
Thank you. Thank you. That was fun. And I hope you all are taking something away to make video a little less daunting down the road.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent.
Talk to you guys
Thank you,
later.
Nina.
Thank you.